Servus and welcome to the first episode of 2022 for Servus Kraut, Germany for non-Germans. Glad to be back, glad to have you back. It took a while because, COVID struck and yeah, I don't want to into a COVID debate here, but it wasn't that much fun. I'm still recovering right now. Everything is fine. Everything is awesome. Coughing a little bit. But just mainly he's really tired still, so that's why it just took a while to get back on the track. But here we are, Servus Kraut back on track. Germany for non-Germans, off we go. And for this first episode, of course, I planned that differently, but now I figured, okay, we haven't talked and communicated with each other for a few weeks, so let's just jump right back into what's happening in Germany right now. What are some of the headlines, news we should discuss? And then we pick some topics that we will go into detail into starting the next week again. So one of the news you might have seen in Germany, this protest of neo-Nazis, right-wing supporters in Dresden. And then they came close to the university clinic in Dresden, and staff and students, I believe mostly students, protested against them. And then the students got actually circled by police and some of them taken into custody. That, of course, led to huge outrage in German media, also outside of Germany, obviously, because it just didn't look right. The police protects the neo-Nazi march, but then circles and apprehends those students that demonstrate for freedom. Yeah, so the police then said, of course, well, they only apprehended those that violated COVID protocol, and there were people on both sides that got apprehended. But it just was a very bad look, of course, for the police in Sachsen, in Dresden, to be precise here. You see that I'm even struggling talking about it because you don't want to jump to conclusions and you don't want to call the police like right wing or anything, but this is not the first time that the police there is looking not the greatest though. But well, to be fair, if there are people that are breaking the protocol on both sides, then you have to do something. You probably should just communicate that better, and the visuals just haven't been great because the police seem to be protecting the neo-Nazi demonstration while they didn't do this for the students. All right, let's just hope this was just bad visuals and this is nothing, I don't know, to worry about. It's something to worry. It's definitely something to worry about, and I hope the lens will be shined on this further so that this just won't happen that often anymore. Yeah, let's leave it with this, right? What else is happening in Germany? Well, a lot actually, and one thing that you might not have heard, but just a thing that I found very interesting, is that the trading Bitcoin platform in Germany, which is BitMEX, you might have heard of BitMEX if you're in Europe, for example. BitMEX now has taken the first steps to acquire an actual German bank. They want to acquire the bank called Bankhaus von der Heid. And so this would be a huge move for a crypto platform, of course. But also like in Germany, like to buy an established old bank, which is kind of crazy. It's like Amazon buying brick and mortar shops back then for the first time. You're like, wow, crazy. They have enough money to do this. So now apparently BitMEX makes enough money to buy a bank. Insane. No judgment here, just really crazy. And this, of course, could herald like something rather spectacular in the whole cryptocurrency trading era now in Europe, and even if the largest economy in Europe does something like this, then others, of course, will notice. So that's going to be really interesting. What else did we have? Well, of course, there was another protest against COVID measures It was in all the big cities like Berlin, Cologne, also in the eastern parts, like in Cottbus or Rostock, for example. And it was overall, and I took the notes, and I took it from deutschewelle.com, dw.com, and they said it's over 70,000 protests. Pardon me, you see, still recovering. So over 70,000 attended protests. Guys who protest, just listen to me. COVID is not fun. Be safe, people. Be safe. Most of them, of course, ignored COVID protocols. And while I do understand that this is annoying at times, and I'm also not, and I also don't want to have a 1,000 different booster shots. Now that I had COVID, I have to say it's not fun. So stay safe, people. Stay safe. Anyways, so more demonstrations still, thousands of people on the streets. So this doesn't seem to stop. But Germany is not the only country, of course, as you know from the news, but still something to be aware of, I believe. So this it seems to be getting like more and more, not violent, I hope, but like the divide is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which is really sad. I followed, like while I was sick at home now, I of course spent time online reading articles and comments, and German Facebook comments are no joke. It's people are so mad at each other. It's kind of crazy to see, actually, to be honest. Like people being so mad and not polite and just insulting each other. It's crazy. Like I'm not happy seeing like where this is taking us. On a more positive note, Germany now also in the news right now for wanting to scrapping a Nazi-era abortion law. There's a law that like doctors in Germany are forbidden by law from providing information on abortion procedures, and that's gonna set to change now. So probably something good, right? All right. Well, I mean, if you think about why the Nazis did this, of course they wanted as many babies as possible, because more babies, more workforce, bigger workforce. So about time that this changes, I would say. Pardon me one more time. One also interesting thing, from my point of view, is that now, as you probably know, that Russia and Ukraine is getting quite intense again, right? And Germany now said, "Hey, Russia, if you're invading Ukraine, and if you're going to war with Ukraine, we can't just sit and watch." So Germany said they're ready to impose some sanctions. One of them could be like that Germany might halt the pipeline, the famous pipeline between Germany and Russia, which I think is of course something that Russia might think about. I don't think Russia will cave, because they're gonna be like, "F you, Germany, we find someone else." But it's still a big move in economical terms, and it might lead to Germany losing lots of money. But I don't want to toot the German government's horn here, but I mean, it's at least they stand for what they said they're gonna stand for. So, yeah. Good for Olaf Scholz, the new chancellor, if you've forgotten his name, by the way, to actually stand for, well, what they said they would stand for, I guess, right? I'm just scrolling to my notes to see. Yeah, here it goes. I forgot the name. Nord Stream. Then I was like, I know the name. Nord Stream 2 is the name of the pipeline. There you go. Sorry for mixing this up. Again, I've been sick. Forgive me for this week. I promise next week I'll be more on top of things again. I have 3 or 4 more notes though that I want to go through before I go back to sleep here. One thing that also came out of Germany this past week was that they were trying a Syrian doctor for torture. I think it's the first time ever that that a country, at least in Europe, I think, tried a foreign citizen for torture, and a doctor only named as Ala M. He is on trial in Frankfurt, and he's accused of having been part of the Syrian torture system, and you know, the doctors are mostly always involved to keep people alive and alike. And some of the crimes, and don't listen if you don't want to hear cruel things, that he's accused of is dousing the genitals of teenagers with alcohol and setting them on fire, kicking prisoners, broken arms and legs, administering those who protest against mistreatment with injections. So those are a few things that he has to stand trial for. What the hell, right? So the Attorney General in Frankfurt has like a huge list drawn out with all the things that he's accused of. And now this doctor will go on trial at the Frankfurt Higher Regional Court for crimes against humanity. I find this very interesting. And this comes on the heels of like another like landmark, so to speak, court judgment. Because the week before, like last week, a German court found a Syrian army colonel guilty of crimes against humanity. So the German courts are kind of getting to work right now. And that army colonel got a life sentence in court. So yeah, sometimes like I don't say it works or like justice works, but I mean at least something's happening in this regard, and I think this is something positive eventually. What else? I have 3 more notes for you guys. One is energy news related. You're gonna say like, how can this be interesting? Well, there's a discussion right now to in the European Union, right, to relabel nuclear power as green, for example, so that then if you invest in nuclear power as a company, you say you invest in like green energy, for example, and then you get you get promotions or tax returns or whatever you get for that, right? Which is very interesting. Also, though, Germany is like one of the few countries in the European Union right now that, of course, wants to get away from nuclear power and also coal, which could leave Germany like at a disadvantage on an economical scale level, so to speak, because, well, now you rely on expensive, so to speak, energy, while the countries around you don't. And so that's a big discussion point right now. And now, for example, would also lead to Germany relying heavily on the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, on the Russian gas, if you transition away from your own resources. Not saying Germany should stick to coal or nuclear power, of course. Green all the way, even though nuclear power, I mean, it's always a discussion point, because is it really not green? Is it, pardon me, is it green? Or what are the alternatives? Is it better to rely on Russian gas than on your own nuclear power? Difficult questions to be answered. However, of course, I think we can agree that coal is definitely not green. And green coal, yeah, sure. So this is. I don't have an answer for this. I just find this a very interesting discussion to follow, and I'm very curious to see what's going to happen there as we talk. I think right now, of course, lots of discussions between the German foreign minister, who's Annalena Baerbock, and her counterpart in Russia, of course. So let's see what happens there. But this is a very, very interesting issue to follow, I believe. Like, it's not only about economics, it's of course also like about like what deals can you strike with other countries such as Russia and the like. So very much looking forward to seeing what happens there, because it's really like a really curious time right now in this regard. Yeah, what else do we have? I have one more, and I want to talk about, because like I'm like this like media person here, right? So I'm working in the media and so on. And so Germany now is in the news also because they threaten to get tough on Telegram. So Germany voices concerns about extremist content on Telegram Messenger. There's lots of it. And since Telegram has become like a key platform in this regard, Germany is like, maybe we need to do something. Now, it's not easy to censor content in Germany. And Germany is very much about like free speech and all those things, of course. However, if there's some Nazi content, right-wing extremist content on there, then that's when Germany has enough usually. So if you want to get censored in Germany, you talk about like Nazi content and all those things, then you can get it. And this might be, in my opinion, now I'm just spitballing, in my opinion, this might be like one of the ways that Germany is trying to get in on Telegram and say, hey, Telegram, if you don't control like at least some kind of content that is being shared on there. I don't even think it's going to be like COVID content that Germany is trying to control. I think it's going to be like focus on extremist right-wing content. If you don't do this, then we just have to block you probably. Of course, you can still access via VPN and so on, but this still would deter a mainstream audience from using Telegram, I believe. So let's see what happens there next. This is going to take a while though, because it has to go through courts. Then of course you need to get like the right approvals and the like. Gonna take a while, but maybe those are steps that the German government is willing to take. Who knows? We will see. All right, that was just a quick recap of like what's happening right now in Germany. Again, unfortunately, been struck and out with COVID for like almost 2 weeks now. I promise next week we'll dive just into one topic in more detail again. But I wanted to just have this comeback episode to start again and welcome you into the new year. So glad to be back. Happy that you're here. I hope you had a good start into the new year. And guten Rutsch, how we say in Germany. And I'm looking forward to talking to you again rather soon. Safe, sound, and healthy as always. Until then, don't forget to stay safe and subscribe to this thing, rate it if possible, so more people can find us and we can have a bigger discussion about all things German and Germany. Until then, take care and Servus.